Now we're going to do Gaussian elimination with back substitution to solve the system equations, okay? There's a lot of ways you could do this, but the first thing I need to do is I need to write out my matrix. So I'm going to write out my matrix. So I write the coefficients 3, 1, 2, and then I put a vertical segment there before the answers. 31, 1, 1, 2, 19. All right, and then 1, 3, 2, 25. Okay, so you got to route the matrix first. All right, here's what my goal is. My goal is to have ones diagonal down the middle and zeros underneath them. And then I can have whatever here, number there. I don't even know. I'm just making this up as I go. Number, number, number. I don't know. So like I have to have ones diagonal and I have to have zeros underneath it. That's what my goal is. That's what gets it into that form, okay? How you do that, there's a ton of ways. There's so many ways. And so you could switch rows. You can multiply by rows by certain values. You could do operations with rows. So let's start. I need this one to be a 1. Could I switch? Uh-oh, shout out to Peyton. Got her engaged today. I could switch a row. What row do you want to switch? It actually doesn't matter. You want to switch the second and the first row? I need this to be a 1. I see a 1 there and there, so I could switch the second row with the first row or the third row with the first row. I'm going to switch the second and the first row. So I'm going to do R2, R1. So I'm going to have 1, 1, 2, 19, 3, 1, 2, 31. There is a way to do this in the calculator, by the way. I'll show you that later. So now I've got, oh, look at that. I got a 1 there, too. I know y'all don't care. That's nice, though. That's how Peyton planned it out. All right. Now, next, these two have to be zeros underneath the 1. These two have to be zeros. How could I make this 0 working off that? I couldn't just switch a row. What could I do? Think of an operation I could do. All right, go with the top. Here's what I would do. If you do 3 times R1, 3 times the first row minus the second row, what would that, what's 3 times 1? 3 minus 3, 0. So that you could do that. How could I make this one be 0, working off this first 1? How could I make this one be 0? What can I do with 1 to make it 0? 1 and 1 to make it 0. Don't think too hard. Subtract them. So R1 minus R3. R3. Did Alex do this? So the top row is not going to be changed. I get super stressed doing this. 3 times the first row, 3 times 1's 3, minus 3 is 0. Now you got to do it for all of them. What's 3 times the first row? 3, 3 minus 1, 2. What's 3 times the first row? What's 3 times 2? 6 minus 2 is what? 4. 3 times the first row. Uh-oh. Cowan had that many fingers. 3 times 19. minus the second row, 6. Now I'm going to do subtraction. R1 minus R3. What's 1 minus 1? What's 1 minus 3? -2. What's 2 minus 2? 0. It's 19 minus 25. -6. These must be 0. Not the most fun thing. Our next step is to make this element 1. This must be 1. What can you do with 2 to make it 1? You can subtract. What else could you do with 2 to make it 1? Yeah, you can't, yeah, you could do R2 minus R, but actually we don't want to mess with these zeros. What I would do here is I would just do half of that, half of R2. Because half of 2, because you don't want to mess with that 0 though. So half of R2, jeez, it's taking forever. So 1, 0, 0. 1, 2, 19. So you take half of these. Half of 2 is 1. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 26 is 13. Oh, gosh. So that's 1. Next, you need this to be 0. This must be 0. Now, I would not mess. I don't want this to become nothing but 0, but this must be 0. I would work off of row 2. What can I do with row 2 element to do with row 3 to make this 0? How could I make this 0? What could I do with 1 to make it 0? Or 1, what can I do with 1 to do with that and then add -2 to it to make it 0? What would this have to be able to add to -2 and make it 0? 2. So what would I have to do? 2 times row 2 plus row 3. 2 times 1 is 2. By the way, this isn't the only right way to do it. That'd be your new row 3. So the first row is not going to be affected. The second row is not going to be affected. So 2 times 0 is 0 plus 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus -2 is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. 2 times 13 is 26. 26 plus -6 is 20. Man. Lastly, this must be 1. I'm almost done. Must be 1. What can I do with 4 to make it 1? Divide by 4, multiply by 1/4. Good job. 1/4 R3. The top are going to stay the same. This last part's the easy part. Riley's like, why did I come to school today for this garbage? 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 10 minutes, jeez. Gosh. It's going to cut into my approval rating. All right. This is the form that you need. We're almost, this is the row echelon form. Row echelon form. You can get a different one from your graphing calculator. I'm going to write equations from this stuff, okay? One right there means 1x. So x plus y plus 2z equals 19. Y plus 2z equals 13. And 1z equals 5 because there's no x, no y. So now z equals 5. Now I'm going to do back substitution. I'm going to plug that into the one above it. So y plus 2 times 5, equals 13. Y plus 10 equals 13. Y equals 3. And then to find x, I'm going to plug in the top. X plus 3 plus 2 times 5 equals 19. 2 times 5 is 10, so x plus 13 equals 19. Subtract 13, x equals 6. So my solution is going to be 6, 3, and 5. X is 6, y is 3, z is 5.